Are you calling me a superhero?
Now, I love Tarentino movies, and even though I don't think the Kill Bills rank among his best, I do have a real fondness for them. But there's a scene in Volume 2 that really pisses me off and leads me to believe that mainstream filmmakers outside of the MCU think comics are beneath them.
Can I ask about this general conversation people are having about the decline of cinema generally, that there aren't enough films out there that really illuminate the soul?
A staple of the superhero mythology is there's the superhero and there's the alter ego. Batman is actually Bruce Wayne.
Okay, that's the first thing you got wrong, because anyone who has read more than a handful of Batman comics knows that Batman isn't really Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne is really Batman. The terrifying, night-stalking, controlling, paranoid vigilante is the real man, and Bruce Wayne is the mask he wears. But do continue with your fascinating and reductionist insight.
Superman was born Superman. His alter ego is Clark Kent. That's the costume Superman wears to blend in with us. And what are the characteristics of Clark Kent? He's weak, he's unsure of himself, he's a coward. Clark Kent is Superman's critique on the whole human race.
Now, I don't know if Tarantino just doesn't understand comics or if he wrote Bill as a character that probably read a Superman comic when he was 8, saw Clark Kent's fumbling personality, and his little sociopathic brain said, "Oh, why is this immortal god acting this way? He must be mocking humanity." And I would totally believe that of this character, but considering how the analogy works its way into the narrative, I'm guessing this is Tarantino's words more than they are Bill's. So he is a mockery of the entire human race, rather than being a beautiful and hopeful exploration of what the world would be like if a truly good person had the power to save and inspire it. Superman is the opposite of Batman in almost every conceivable way. One of them is that Superman is Clark Kent's mask. He is a small-town boy who was raised by the perfect small-town parents. He went to high school, he had crushes, he made friends, he wants to be human. I'm pretty sure that if he didn't have powers and feel the obligation to use them, he would be working on his parents' farm with a wife and 9 kids by now. And it's that, coupled with his godlike powers, which make him a truly inspiring and lovable character. And I think that's why, arguably, the oldest superhero is the one who has lasted the longest. If he were a mockery of humanity's weakness, I'm pretty sure people would have stopped watching. Pretty certain about that. So fuck you, Bill, you self-important little prick. And even if you were right, you say that Superman stands alone in the regard that he was born into his hero persona? Have you read Thor, Wonder Woman, Martian Manhunter, Bart Allen, Superboy, Aquaman, Raven, Namor, and every X-Man ever? So filmmakers try to seem laid back and with it by saying that comic books inspired them, or yeah, I've totally read The Dark Knight, you guys. I get a very similar feeling from Zack Snyder. They do concede that they are great stories, but don't appreciate them as a medium in and of themselves, and think they would be better transferred to more respectable mediums. This has annoyed me so much that it's almost as patronising as Martin Scorsese saying they are not cinema. Okay, full disclosure. Scorsese actually wrote an article clarifying his statement for the New York Times, and he does make some very good points about how big franchises are pushing out smaller art house pictures because we all want to see the same thing, and that is where the money goes. He mentions Hitchcock as a visionary doing new and exciting things, which he very much was, and tries to say that these movies are not the same because they employ trends that come and go, and we are still watching Hitchcock decades later. And I'm sorry, I know this guy knows so much more about cinema than I do, but to my ears, that is the biggest load of pretentious bullshit I have ever heard. He does admit that while there is a certain sameness to Hitchcock, we keep coming back to his films because of the emotional payoff.
Don't waste it. Don't waste your life.
Pete, come on.
Take my hand.
No! No! No!
It's me. You'll die. Why are you doing this?
We are Groot.
You know, I'm 1,500 years old. I've killed twice as many enemies as that, and every one of them would have rather killed me, but none succeeded. Thanos is just the latest in a long line of bastards, and he'll be the latest to feel my vengeance.
And what if you're wrong?
Well, if I'm wrong, then what more could I lose?
Seriously, there were so many more I wanted to put in there, but I didn't want to make this video super long, so just the ones that affected me the most made the cut. Now, I do get where he's coming from about the studio system and how it very much plays a part in the creation of these works, but that doesn't mean that true emotional storytelling isn't being employed. I have always said that to truly appreciate these films, they need to be appreciated as a whole. In any other film, you spend 2 hours with a character and don't think about them all that much afterwards. These are characters I've spent years with. Characters who I've seen in a whole slew of situations, and that is why even though I was fully aware he was coming back, I watched Spider-Man die and I felt that death. And I really object to this very self-important idea of the auteur when it comes to cinema, because cinema is not ever made by one person.
I don't want to use the word personal vision, but I have.
I'm not trying to take away from Hitchcock's pure genius, but he is not solely responsible for the brilliance of these films.
I have weighed in on every aspect of this film so far, as I have done on every film you've made in the last 3 decades, and being gracious to people who look through me as if I were invisible, because all they can see is the great and glorious genius Alfred Hitchcock.
So the idea that there's not one great genius artistic vision behind the MCU, just again, some of the most pretentious bullshit I have ever heard. And you want to talk about artistic vision? The MCU has done something that has never been applied, at least on this scale before. It takes film, a collaborative medium, and manages to pull together different genres, different directors, different writers, different actors, different characters, all of these artistic visions into one nearly cohesive whole. That is not cinema? To me, that is the very essence of what cinema is. Whether or not history believes the individual MCU movies are good films in and of themselves, this whole experiment, project, vision, whatever you want to call it, will go down in cinematic history because it is cinema. He also talks about Netflix and how it gave them the chance to make The Irishman, but that the communal experience of films are lost, which leads me to my final rebuttal of his point of view. Just say that comic book movies are amusement park films as he describes them, and they are taking up all the room for
Real cinema.
Okay, doesn't that mean they are the ones that really should be in the theatres? Imagine you were on an amusement park ride on your own. It might still be fun, but not nearly as fun as it would be with others. Whereas real cinema is much more intimate and focused, so thanks to the development in home entertainment, doesn't that mean that these intimate films are far more suited to an intimate setting? Say, at home, on a streaming service. Whereas the big bombastic Marvel films are really only suited to be viewed in big auditoriums where the excitement of others can enhance the experience. Yes, it is still fun watching these when they pop up on TV, but they are not being viewed to their full potential. Whereas intimate films like Scorsese's can pretty much be viewed anywhere and still have the same emotional impact, at least for me. And I would like to make a quick clarification because I realised when I was editing this that I was being far too hard on Martin Scorsese, and I don't think he is a pretentious or elitist man. In fact, he comes across as a very humble and sweet person, just that the point of view is pretentious and elitist. Something this journalist apparently feeds into like viruses onto my increasingly shitty laptop.
I was told by my film professor, there are films and there are movies. And sometimes you've got to know what you're walking into.
Yeah. See, but I come from a time where movies were films.
The only thing that I find truly bad is that he freely admits that he doesn't watch these movies. So how can he say that they are all alike and have no emotional danger, impact, or staying power? So, why did I make this incredibly short, whingy video about very talented men? Because they're all men. Comics and them not getting it, for lack of a better phrase. Well, I started writing a commentary about Batman's no killing rule, its history, importance, and a rundown of all the rebuttals to the argument of it being important. And that got me thinking about Zack Snyder, and that got me thinking about other filmmakers, and then I had to do my ironing, so I stuck on Kill Bill Volume 2 for a couple of hours, and my head exploded. But this didn't fit into my no killing rule video, but I didn't want to delete it either because this is very interesting to me. So I'm just going to ask you to comment, tell me what you think, like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell if you want to hear me ranting more about how people just don't get it. Only this time, we will be tackling arguably the most contentious issue in Batman's history. Should he kill? See you soon.